Hi, Substance Moms. It is so fun to be with you today. My name is Amanda Wahlund, and my husband Ryan and I have 3 children, 9, 6, and 4 now. So they're in 3rd, 1st, and preschool. And we're like entering that stage with a little more freedom. And also parenthood is starting to shift a little bit. So it's a little more like character development and less just trying to keep them alive, which I really love. But we had a super exciting week last week. We had 2 new cousins born. So in 3 days, my sister had her 3rd baby and my sister-in-law had her very first. And it just has me thinking a lot about what those early days as a mom are like. And one vivid memory I have is like being home from the hospital for our first night home, and Clark, our firstborn, is like in his little bassinet, and I'm watching his little chest breathe up and down and up and down and making sure he's okay. And I need to just watch him every second from now on to make sure that nothing bad ever happens, because I'm in charge of him and I'm responsible for this little person. And all of a sudden I realized that means I can never close my eyes again. And this is going to be a problem. And it was just this like clarifying moment of motherhood is this amazing gift, but also this huge responsibility. And we want so badly to protect our children and to be there for every moment to like shape and direct and keep them safe. And we can't. Occasionally you have to close your eyes. And so one of the ways that we are able to like move forward with some peace is that we have to partner, right? Like we have to partner with other people. So I want to talk about partnering for success in raising your children, because it is not just up to you. Thank God. So our very first partner as believers, it's God, right? So from the time my babies were like growing inside of me, I was just praying, Lord, protect these babies, help them to develop exactly how you've designed them, and keep them safe. And I continue to pray those things. But now that my kids are getting a little bit older and they're going to school and I can't be with them every moment, we try to pray the armor prayer over them from Ephesians chapter 6. And I think we can put a link to the blog in the show notes. So we pray that we would put on the full armor of God for each of us so that we would be protected, but also that we would represent Jesus really well when we go out into our separate worlds, because they are starting to have their own separate worlds away from me. Another way that I try to partner with God every day, this was also a Substance Mom's piece of advice years ago, is I have an alarm on my phone. So if you have an iPhone, it defaults to say alarm for whatever time you set, but you can actually type in like 2 sentences worth of things. So I have an alarm at 9 o'clock every morning, and every morning it says to me, I pray for the Wahlund children to be known for kindness. I help them to shine for Jesus as they interact with others today. And my kids are already on the bus at that point if it's a school day, but even at home, if they hear it, I hear them from the kitchen like, help the Wahlund children be known for kindness. Like they all know that that's what we're praying for. And that's also an expectation then when things come up in how they interact with others, I say, what do I pray for you for every day? That you'd be known for kindness. Be kind to your sister. Be kind to your brother. So God's our number 1 partner. Number 2, if your partner, your marriage partner, the dad is in the picture, then he is your like I already said number 1. So now we got all the numbers mixed up. Forget it. He's a very important partner. And I remember, Ryan doesn't remember this at all, which is very funny, but it like stuck with me. When Clark was just a few weeks old, I was giving Ryan some kind of micromanaging instructions. And he said to me very calmly, I have been a parent just as long as you have. And I was like, oh, yes, you are right. You have been. And I need to like back off and let you step into your role as a dad, because our kids need both of us. So just a reminder that you play a very important role, but the other parent in your house, or if you are a blended family, step parents, they all play an important role. So partner together and communicate so that you're all working towards the same goals. Another important thing is that we invest in our village, right? So there are people around you, family and friends, who can encourage you and lift you up. That's what these small groups are about, getting together, talking through like what season you're in, but you also have to reinvest at each stage. So as your kids change their needs, your needs, maybe you move other places, you have to keep reinvesting in community. Those friendships are such a lifeline, I think, as a mom. I remember we were fortunate to have some friends that got married about the same time we did and had kids about the same time we did it. And one friend in particular, her kids are about 9 months older than my kids. So every time I saw Amy, I'd be like, okay, Amy, do I need to read a certain book? Because they just don't sleep. Like, Clark doesn't sleep through the night. He's up so many times, and I think I'm ruining him. Like, if I knew to put him in his room instead of our room in the bassinet, or if I'm supposed to swaddle him or not swaddle him, do I let him cry more? Like, what am I doing wrong? And she's also a very chill person, would be like, Jack didn't sleep for like the first 9 months either. And then he turned a corner and it got way better. So just like hang in there. You're not ruining him. I was like, oh, okay. I can make it a few more months. I think it will get better. And as my kids are getting older, I'm also seeing some of the benefits of having like invested in my friendships, my relationships, because my friends care about my kids. And so now that they are a little more separated from me, they're going to kids' church. They're going to maybe sports, a school activity, music lessons. I have other adults that are looking out for them, that care about how they're doing in their interpersonal interactions. And they know they have a little extra accountability because, oh, there goes mom's friend. She's probably going to mention to mom if I'm making bad choices. So I have like this network of people who care about me, so they care about my kids, and they're helping be part of my team to support my kids' growth and development. So all those things are kind of like the ones you expect, right? But what about when you're starting to get out of your depth as a parent? Like when you're starting to notice things in your kids that you're like, I don't know how to help you with this. And maybe we even need like some professional resources, or they're at school now, so teachers are being paid to like help them develop in these areas. I just want to say I really value like a home secure environment. I grew up in a very family-centric family. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad is self-employed and was like a stay-at-home, work-from-home dad before that was really even a thing. So I was homeschooled some of the time. I mean, we did a ton of stuff together. So I really value that in my own family. Ryan does too. We care about margin for being the ones that have important conversations with our kids first. So I'm not talking about like outsourcing your values or important discussions that need to come from you as mom and dad. But I think sometimes, especially in Christian circles where we hear that a lot, how important the family is, and sometimes there's like some fear around if we let outside influences in, they are here to destroy the children. And that hasn't been my experience. But I think it hasn't been my experience because I care about vetting those people and knowing who is spending time with my kids and becoming friends with them. I want the teachers my kids have to think the Wahlunds are the best. They are the first to volunteer to help with whatever, or they give great Christmas presents. They listen when I offer suggestions instead of assuming that their kid couldn't possibly have done anything wrong. Like, I really want to partner well with those people and take away that fear element, right? And so where that started for me really was that when Clark was like 3 and 4, he just started having like a lot of trouble. He's such a sweet, like funny, he's a toucher, like he wants to cuddle up with you, but he was having these meltdowns that we could not recover from. And I would encourage you to go listen to Kendra Ganucci's talk about dysregulation, because that's for sure what we had going on. And I didn't know what would trigger it. I didn't know how to set him up for success. I didn't know if I needed to discipline him more or give him more like loving one-on-one attention. We were just really struggling. And we had some like early preschool teachers suggest like, hey, maybe you should do your district's pre-K screening. And he's my first kid. I just thought that was like to get him ready for kindergarten. I now know it's not a scary thing. The idea is that it's early intervention. So say your kid is having some challenges like with speech development. If you connect with your district the state and the district pays for you to get speech help for free so that when they show up at their first day of kindergarten, they're not behind. So it's all like with the kids' growth in mind. It has nothing to do with trying to label your kid, but like that's not what it feels like, right? So I went to the screening. I thought, oh, I hope that it's a good day. Like, did I sign him up for a good time? Did he need a snack before? He struggled in some of the coordination areas, but it was really my responses, my honest responses as a parent to some of the parent questions that flagged him for like, this family could use some extra help. And so at the end of the assessment, this nice woman tells me, he struggled in some of these areas and you gave these responses. Special ed is gonna call you to follow up. And I'm sure my face got pinched and I tried really hard to be calm and to like thank you so much, okay. And walk back to my car and I called Ryan and bawled my eyes out because that felt like a personal failure of mine. That if I was home with my kids and I just looked on Pinterest for those pre-K activities, and if I committed to 20 minutes of routine, we would have been able to solve for these things. And if I knew how to like discipline more appropriately or give the right attention, he wouldn't be struggling with some of the behavior things that were happening. And it was the first time I understood why parents sometimes like bury their heads in the sand and say like, nope, we can handle this in our family. We don't need anyone else. Fortunately, I had some people around me. I had a friend from Substance Moms who had experienced something similar with her son the year before who told me it was the best thing we ever did. We got extra help and it transformed his life. We had a family friend with decades of pre-K experience who said, the sooner you get help, the better off your kid is. And that's what you want, right? Like you're here to equip them. So it's nothing to be afraid of. It still required swallowing my pride. So Ryan and I agreed. The next stage was like further evaluation. You don't have to do any of this, by the way. You are offered this as a resource from your district, but it is not something that's required of you. You as a parent could opt out. But we said, okay, if we're going to do this, we are going to be the best freaking parent partners these people have ever had. So we had a woman come to our house. She came to Clark's preschool. They did further assessment. They determined he could use some extra help. Took a deep breath again, because now that meant he wasn't going to be able to go back to his sweet little church preschool he'd been at this year. In order to get those resources, he needed to go to the public school like preschool program, and it's a mix of kids that are there because that's what the parents signed them up for. It's like a mainstream program, but then there's a mix of kids who need extra resources. And I grieved that. I felt like, oh, I just have like this little window of that extra Jesus influence, and I felt so sad. But you know what? It was the best year. These teachers, I just felt like God went before us. The teachers loved Clark. He wasn't a challenge for them. They didn't see him as like an inconvenience. They knew what to expect because we had gone through that process and been honest. And then they celebrated all the great things about him, how funny he was, how brave he is. He had an amazing year. And as time went on, he ended up graduating out of the special ed program because he got the extra help. We were so grateful. But you know what? We keep having to partner with our kids' teachers. My daughter Hadley, school comes super easily for her. All the academic stuff, she loves to read, write, whatever. She's in first grade. Her conferences say that she's friends with everyone. So imagine my surprise when I get a call from the school a couple weeks ago telling me, there was an incident and we want to let you know about it. She was making fun of someone's art project, which I'm horrified by because she loves art and she would hate it if someone did that to her. And he poked her with a pencil and she told on him and all the things, you know, that first graders do. And we just wanted to let you know that we did some, like, you know, talk them through to resolve it and be on the same team, but we wanted you to have the information. And of course, my first response is like, I'm so embarrassed that that would happen. I can't believe they'd feel they needed to call me. And then I had to, again, swallow my pride and say, I am so glad I have this information. If my job is to equip my children to have a personal relationship with Jesus and to have great relationship skills for their future and be able to be independent adults someday, I want to know when there's a problem so that I can address it at home. And we back up our teachers and our coaches the same way Ryan and I would back each other up. There are times where one of us disciplines probably in a way the other person wouldn't have handled it. In the moment, I am on your team 100%. If I need to talk to you separately about, like, let's do it differently next time, I will, but I'm on your team. And that's how we feel about the leaders in our kids' lives. So I have jumped way ahead and just want to tell you that you, as an engaged parent, if you're sending your kids to daycare or to school, sports or youth group, you're not outsourcing. You are team parenting. You are giving them the benefit of other mentors and leaders, role models to look up to who have strengths in areas maybe you don't have. So we hear a lot, Romans 12, 4-5, in terms of us as a body of Christ, a ministry, in ministry senses, but I think it also applies to how we're raising our children. For just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. So you don't need to be afraid to team up with friends, experts, teachers, professional resources if you need them, mentors or other leaders. Of course you need to vet them. You are responsible for your children and keeping them as safe and healthy as you can, but you will be better if you do it together than you would on your own. And besides, you don't want them to live with you when they're 42 anyway. So give them the skills now to be able to be healthy, independent, Jesus-loving adults. Thanks so much for your time today. Have a great day, ladies.